38-year-old woman from Butterworth in the Eastern Cape has allegedly killed her 3 children before taking her own life. Now, according to police, the motive for the deaths are unknown at this stage, but there is speculation that she may have been driven by her socio-economic conditions.
It's reported that the motive could have been poverty.
The link, according to the community, is poverty and hunger. What a tragedy.
Family members said the woman was deeply in debt and the family had been starving for weeks.
However, the increasing cost of living continues unabated.
Current pressure created by the rise in inflation is taking a toll on consumers, with poor households taking the most strain.
The basic expenses like food and fuel, among others, are rising far faster than people's incomes.
To say it's tough times for everybody is like an understatement. I mean, it's really a battle out there for survival.
A large segment of our population is feeling incredibly stressed out about their finances, right? People aren't able to make ends meet.
There are many families who are crippling under poverty, under unemployment. It leaves these families physically and mentally drained and pushes a mother to the point where she eventually takes the life of herself and her children.
Hello, South Africa. Sani Bonani, Dumelang, Hughanded and Aware. My name is Nazli Sharif, and we are coming to you live from Butterworth in the Eastern Cape. Today, the DA is leading a march against the cost of living crisis that is crippling our country. People do not even have enough money to put food on their tables, and the situation is becoming increasingly desperate. As we tragically read on the news about a mother from here in Butterworth that killed herself and her 3 children because she couldn't see any other way out. I can't even begin to imagine what somebody must go through in order to drive them to that point. The failing ANC government is not only collapsing our country, but their indifference is literally killing our people. But we are here today in Butterworth to bring the people together, to unite them and rally them behind a caring DA government that can rescue South Africa in 2024. Next year's elections is our last chance to rescue South Africa from the neglect and the corruption that is driving us to our breaking point. South Africans, your vote has never been more important than it is now. Please make sure that you are registered to vote. You can go to check.da.org.za to check your registration status, as well as to get help to register online. Please remember that you can only vote where you are registered. South Africa, the time is now for us as the people of this country to take our power back. I am joined here with the DA's chief whip in Parliament, Siviwe Kwahube. It's so good to be back in your home province. We are marching with the people in Butterworth today. What type of life are the people living in vulnerable communities such as this one?
It is always so good to be back in my province, but as soon as I arrive, I'm reminded of how the ANC government has failed the people of this province. Nazli, 60% of people in the Eastern Cape live in abject poverty. That is 6 out of 10 people here in this province alone are living in poverty. That is 7 out of 10 young people are without work. That are children. Those are uncles, families, moms and dads who cannot put food on the table. That is the reality of the people of the Eastern Cape. The people of this province have been used as voting fodder by the ANC for too long. Yet, when it comes to the issues that matter, they are not prioritized. Service delivery is bad, and yet they are the ones who are turned to by the ANC to vote for them.
Absolutely, Steve. Steve, the cost of food is increasing. The cost of petrol is rising. The electricity tariffs is on the increase, but we don't have electricity. Why is this happening?
This is simply happening because of bad governance. What we are seeing here is a culmination of 30 years of bad policy decisions that have been made by the governing party. And now what you are seeing is public money that has been stolen running out, where you cannot even give that money sufficiently to the people that need it the most. A vulnerable community needs its government the most. And the fact that our government has stolen money to the point where people of this town, people of these villages cannot afford to eat as a basic need, Nazli. There are people we have spoken to in these villages who tell us that they haven't even had meat in months. They survive on ipapa and the cabbage. And that's the life. That's where we are at now. And so where we've gone wrong, bad policy decisions, corruption, cadre deployment. What can be done right? Job creation. What can be done right? Increasing the child grant. What can be done right is cushioning the people who need the assistance the most by making sure that their basic needs are zero rated in terms of that.
Yeah, Siviwe, can you tell us a little bit about the work that the DA is doing in Parliament to try and look and resolve this crisis?
Look, we have repeatedly called for the finance minister to say expand the basket of goods that are zero-rated VAT so that more and more South Africans can start to afford what they now no longer can afford because of the rising cost of living. We have called for the slashing of the fuel taxes because we know that when fuel goes up, like it did last night, it means then that tax fares goes up, that food goes up once again. We have repeatedly said to government that here are some of the policy choices that you can make. We've costed them, we've thought about them, we've researched them. You don't even need to credit the DA for them. Take them, save the lives of the people who have elected us to serve. So those are some of the things we've been doing in Parliament.
Siviwe, the issues we are focusing on today will affect every single South African. Why should people care about it?
We should absolutely care because you see, Nazli, poverty is not something that is only affecting the 30 million South Africans who are living in poverty. It is something that is reaching deep into the pockets of each and every one of us. And South Africa is not a poor country. No South African should go to bed hungry. Not a single South African should go to bed hungry. But we are going to bed hungry because the priorities of the state are warped, and I look forward to the people of this province making different choices next year.
Siviwe, the million-dollar question, can the DA really save South Africa?
Absolutely. Look at where we are right now. You would never have said this about the Democratic Alliance 20 years ago. Look at these beautiful people. But we can only make a difference, Nazli, if people register in November. When they register in November, then they can be only able to go and vote. And that's why we are urging everybody to go on check.da.org.za. Check whether or not you are registered. Make sure you are correctly registered. You want to be the CEO of your life. I don't know about you, but on election day, I want to be the CEO that goes and fires this government at the election polls. But we can only do that if people register to vote.
Thank you so much, Siviwe. There you heard it, South Africa, from the DA, Chief Whip in Parliament, Siviwe Kwahube. Be the CEO of your life. Go and make sure you are registered to vote. Check.da.org.za to get help on how you can register online. As you can see, the DA march is moving through the town of Butterworth. The excitement is incredible. The feeling of chaos is palpable. And everybody coming out today in Butterworth to lend their voices to ensure that changes are made. I am now with Yusuf Kassim, the DA Provincial Chairperson in the Eastern Cape. Hello, Yusuf, and thank you for the great welcome into your province. Please, can you tell us why are we marching in Butterworth today?
Nasli, about a month back, a mother here from Butterworth in one of the surrounding villages had murdered 3 of her children out of desperation because of the rising levels of poverty. Orabile, Oratile, and Anati. Unfortunately, as a parent, when you see your children and you're unable to provide for them, it provides shame and pain. And this mother had no other choice but to put her children out of that misery and to commit suicide herself. And this is not only something that has happened here in Butterworth, it happened in Port St. John's. Across our province and our country, our people have been put through the indignity of the pain and the shame of not being able to provide for their families and their children.
Yeah. Yusuf, the issues are many. Are there any short-term solutions we can look at to try and alleviate the cost of living crisis? And does the DA have any solutions?
The Democratic Alliance has proposed a few things that can make an immediate impact. One of those is to slash the taxes on the fuel, the cost of fuel, the fuel levy, so that when you decrease the cost of fuel, we've just seen the cost of fuel that has gone up, it's going to go up again next month. The cost of everything goes up. Transport to go to work. People are spending more money on transport to get to work than they can on feeding their families. The cost of foodstuff, the cost of the manufacturing, production, distribution. So we can immediately make an impact on the cost of fuel. But we also need to ensure that those most vulnerable within our society are able to take care of their children. And we have proposed that the child grant must be increased from the 500 Rand that it is now to the food poverty line. So at least the nutrition of our children can be taken care of. The mother that had no choice but to kill her children, they were receiving a child grant, but it was insufficient. She had to borrow from loan sharks who were after her and her family just to be able to give her children something to eat. So increasing the social grant is a definite must. And something else that we must do is ensure that we consider a greater basket of necessities in order to cut the VAT on those individual food essentials and certain imports of food stuff. We need to be able to cut the import duties on those particular. This is not a normal time that our people are going through, and therefore we need to ensure that we find measures that's going to ensure that the money that is available needs to be increased and needs to be able to go further for our people.
Yeah. Yusuf, when you spoke about that mother, it really brought me emotional because I can't ever imagine somebody having to go to that length to protect themselves and their children. Yusuf, when we speak about young people, tell me, how is this cost of living crisis affecting young people in the Eastern Cape? You spoke about the children. How else is it affecting young people?
Young people don't see a future for themselves. They're unable to have a family of their own. They're unable to ensure that they can support that family. Youth unemployment in the Eastern Cape is at a crisis level. 3 out of every 4 young people are not able to find a job. And therefore, we need to be able to ensure that young people can access opportunities in order to provide for the next generation. Some of the things that the DA has done where we govern in the Western Cape, as an example, is we've made large poor communities have access to super fast internet so that they can research to improve their education level, so that they can improve their access to opportunities that might exist. Another intervention that has been put in place is to ensure that low-income families have power packs that they can utilize to shield themselves from the load shedding crisis. We need an entire whole of society approach to ensure that young people can access opportunities, that jobs are created. We've seen that the City of Cape Town jobless rate reduced by 7.7% as an example. So young people need access to skills, access to jobs, and access to the kind of resources that will allow them to also access these opportunities. As the DA, we believe that every single South African must have the power to be themselves, to develop themselves, and to pursue their aspirations and their dreams.
Yeah. Yusuf, last question. 2024 is the last chance for us to save South Africa. Why should people of South Africa rally behind the DA and not the ANC and their smaller proxy parties?
I'm from Nelson Mandela Bay, Nasli. And in Nelson Mandela Bay, unfortunately, the vote of our people has been splintered between some of the smaller parties. People in Nelson Mandela Bay didn't want the ANC, which is why the ANC couldn't get a majority, not even close to a majority. However, the proxy parties of the ANC have now put the ANC back into power, and our people are in crisis. We cannot afford to allow our country to suffer the same fate that cities like Nelson Mandela Bay, the city of Johannesburg, and others are currently suffering. We need to rally behind one political progressive party that has proven that it can govern, that it cares about our people. We need to rally under one banner in order to remove this criminal organization that's the ANC once and for all. Don't vote for the ANC. Don't vote for their proxy parties. Don't sit at home, because that means the ANC will get back into power. Register to vote. Get your family, get your friends. If you want change, you need to be part of that change. Register to vote and ensure that you have the ability to bring in a new government that can bring change to our communities.
Yusuf, before I let you go, let's just remind people, where can they go and get assistance for registrations?
check.voteda.org.za. We want all of our people to go onto the check.voteda.org.za. And if you need assistance, please contact your local DA councillor, your local DA structure. We will more than happily come to your home and we will assist you to register to vote.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yusuf. South Africans, there you heard it. Check.da.org.za. Please make sure that you are registered to vote. Again, we cannot make any changes unless you are registered to vote. As we continue moving through the streets of Butterworth, we are protesting against the cost of living, and we'll see you right after this ad break.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Nyati, the interim DA Youth Federal leader. South Africa is suffering from load shedding, unemployment, and no access to opportunities for young people. We have an opportunity to change this situation by registering to vote for a government that will not be a danger to society. I urge each and every person to go out and register to vote. You can register by going to check.da.org.za. check.da.org.za. Let us take back our power and give it to the people. Power to the registered.
Get help registering to vote at check.da.org.za. Register to rescue South Africa.
The DA protest is continuing in the town of Butterworth. Everybody's coming out to support the cause. And welcome back to our live broadcast. I am now with Bridget Masango, the DA Shadow Minister for Social Development. Hello, Ma'am Bridget. Hello. Why is it so important for you to be here today?
Today actually marks the day, which is the second day after the payment of grants for older persons, and we've already had messages trickling in that there are areas or provinces in this country where the money was not there, where people had to detour to retailers and to other pay points because the post office does not have sufficient money. So it is important because this area is a very rural area, and the people that have been hardest hit by the situation of food costs going high are in areas such as Butterworth. So it was important for us to come here today to say that we have seen what is happening to people of Butterworth and everywhere else in the country, but to also sound a clarion call for people to to say that what you are experiencing in this government is not likely to end. It's likely to get worse. And we are saying, make decisions when you vote next. So that is the reason we came to Butterworth today.
Ma'am Bridget, speaking about the SASSA grants, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen an absolute failure of beneficiaries getting their SASSA grants. What exactly happened? What was the problem?
It was a devastating time for especially the older persons. We saw no less than 600 older persons not getting their monthly grant of 2,080 rand. And I am sad to say that although it started on the 5th and the problem was somehow resolved, but there were people as recent as last week that still had not received their grant. So we were told that the problem was the glitch in the system because they changed service providers that were paying money into people's account. We are now saying, was it really the glitch? If we are experiencing something similar or a month later, there has been time to sort out any glitch that could have been in the system. What do we call what is happening right now? So the situation at SASSA is because it's SASSA that people applied to, not Postbank. We have been getting messages from Postbank. We appreciate that. But the Minister of Social Development, that is where the buck of the grant payment system stops with the Minister.
Ma'am Bridget, we spoke about the dire straits that SASSA finds itself in. But the question on everybody's minds, can the DA fix SASSA?
The DA can really fix SASSA because the DA is run on the basis of caring. It is run on the basis of the rule. And monitor the payment of grant in this country. If the Department of Social Development institutionalizes the grant payment system, we are likely not to have this problem because as members of parliament, we will be having one point of oversight, and the SASSA will be guided by the law as to what to do to institutionalize grant payments. So we are saying, as the Democratic Alliance, we literally work as an organization that is steeped in the rule of law, in caring, and making sure that nobody is made to expose themselves to or subjected to the indignity of not having the little grant that the government or the constitution has given them.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Bridget, for explaining what the situation is.
Yes.
There you have it, South Africa. The DA has a plan to fix SASSA. Make sure you go out there and register to vote. Ma'am Bridget, where do we check our registration?
We go to check.da.org.za.
There we go.
Power to the registered.
Power to the registered. Make sure you go out there and you get yourself registered. Don't forget to take all your friends, all your family with you, and make sure that they are registered to vote. We are continuing on our march here in Butterworth. I'm sure you can see how hot it is, but the vibe here is unexplainable. Having all the people here together with you.
What support is there to help you put food on the table and get back on your feet? If we consider the damage decades of corruption have done to our nation's welfare system and the soaring cost of living, national government needs to do much more to assist poor and vulnerable South Africans. During each election campaign, the governing party lies to voters and tells them that DA will take away their grants. The truth is, grants are a constitutional right and not a favor from the ANC government. In reality, the DA is the only party with a sustainable plan to increase the child support grant by almost 25%. A DA national government will also extend the child support grant to learners older than 18, ensuring they have financial stability until they complete their matric exams. But what about the child still developing in the womb? A DA government will also extend the child support grant to pregnant mothers so that they can have better access to the nutritious food their baby needs to get the best start in life. Combating the cost of living crisis is a priority. A DA national government will make more groceries VAT-free. Beyond subsidizing staples such as bread and milk, a DA national government will further reduce the taxes on items such as bone-in chicken, tin bins, and baby food. A caring government looks out for the poor and vulnerable among us. We understand that while it is crucial for the private sector to create new jobs, it is equally important to make sure that our brothers and sisters don't go to bed hungry at night. I want to encourage you to visit the DA's website to learn more about our social development policy to support and protect the poor and most vulnerable among us. Make sure that you have the power to vote in the 2024 national and provincial elections by registering to vote online at check.da.org.za.
Get help registering to vote at check.da.org.za. Register to rescue South Africa.
Just give us commentary from the side.
No
I'll
problem.
then show you.
Okay, cool, no problem. And we're back here in Butterworth with the DA leading a protest against the cost of living crisis that we are currently facing in this country. So many people are tonight going home without something to eat. They are going to bed hungry because we have an uncaring ANC government that cares more about themselves than they do about the people of this country. It is the DA that can rescue South Africa. Again, and I will keep repeating this, to check your registration status and to get help to register to vote, please go to check.da.org.za. As we continue moving in Butterworth, almost getting closer to the end of our protest, where we will hear speeches from our leadership here in the Eastern Cape, as well as from Parliament. Please make sure you like, comment, and share this feed so that everybody has the opportunity to watch the speeches, to outline the problem, and to provide solutions that the DA has. As mentioned by our previous speakers, the DA is not only a party that points out the problems, but we are also a party that provides solutions. As we continue walking through the protest here in Butterworth, I am now joined by the DA Provincial leader here in the Eastern Cape. Hello, Andrew. Please tell us, why is it important that we are marching here in Butterworth today?
Well, the eastern part of the Eastern Cape is probably the most ground zero for poverty, unemployment, and the rising cost of living, where people simply cannot make ends meet and they are dying. We're talking about mothers who are taking the lives of their children and themselves because they can't afford to feed them anymore. Just outside Butterworth recently, that's exactly what happened. A couple of months after that, in Port St. John's, the same thing. It is absolutely unacceptable that 30 years into democracy, we have children starving to death and parents who are killing their children because they don't have the dignity to be able to feed them. And that's why we're here today.
Absolutely. Andrew, can you tell us, what are you guys here in the Eastern Cape doing to address the cost of living crisis?
Well, we're constantly making proposals that our leader, John Steenhuisen, has made in Parliament. We're challenging the provincial government to come up with interventions to assist and unlock the economy, to create jobs so that people can climb the opportunity ladder out of poverty and into prosperity. Sadly, the opportunity ladder in the Eastern Cape has got no rungs on it. It's broken. And so we want to try and help government with tangible solutions. Unfortunately, the Premier of the Eastern Cape will simply dismiss this protest today, and we will keep protesting louder and more frequently until the Premier hears the cries of the poorest people of the Eastern Cape.
Andrew, the DA currently governs in Kolga municipality. Can you tell South Africans what are some of the things we are doing over there?
Well, the municipality, within its limited powers to deal with the cost of living, is trying to assist with food gardens and providing relief to ordinary citizens by improving service delivery. Basic service delivery goes a long way when it comes to the dignity of our communities, and I think that ultimately, when you look at Butterworth and you compare it to its place like Jeffreys Bay or Humansdorp, you can see that there's a fundamental difference in the dignity in which people, in the way people live. And so, better service delivery and good governance in Kolga is attracting more investment. We're seeing more jobs, more people are relocating to Kolga. It's an exciting opportunity hub for the people of the Eastern Cape.
Absolutely. Andrew, tell us, can the DA rescue the Eastern Cape?
Absolutely. I believe that the people of the Eastern Cape can rescue the Eastern Cape and that we can't do it alone. The DA in the Eastern Cape has been promoting a whole-of-society approach to this project, and we've launched the Rescue EC campaign to start fixing our small towns, assisting the poor with food gardens, trying to alleviate poverty and improve service delivery wherever we are. So the project has started, and we're calling on the people of the Eastern Cape to take hands with us and to join us, because it's only the people of this province that can rescue it from the ANC.
Andrew, our last question. Why should people rally behind the DA to ensure that we rescue South Africa next year?
Well, the DA is the only party with a plan. We've got proactive policies that seek to address some of the greatest injustices in our country. It's very clear that the ANC has failed. The evidence is all around us. The DA is also the only party with a track record in government of actually achieving incredible milestones. In the Eastern Cape, unemployment is at 40%. In the Western Cape, it's almost down to 20%. It's almost half of what the unemployment rate is in this province. So I think our record speaks for itself, but we can't take it for granted. We've got to take our message into communities. And I mean, today you'll see a number of people have joined our march just from the streets. So this is not just a DA march, this is a people's march for one of the most important and burning issues in our country.
Andrew, before I let you go, how do people register and check their registration status?
Well, everyone can go to check.da.org.za. You can also look out for your local DA councillors. We're holding a number of events across the province to encourage people to get registered. And ultimately, once you're registered, please make sure that you actually turn out to vote.
There you have it, the DA provincial leader here in the Eastern Cape, telling us why it is important for voters to not only register to vote, but to become part of the protests and the marches that we are doing. As Andrew mentioned, this is not only a DA march, this is a community march with members from all across Butterworth coming to join us here in Butterworth. Andrew, before I let you go, can you give us some indication on what exactly the DA will be doing when we come into government, specifically here in the Eastern Cape?
Well, the interventions that we propose today we'll be addressing, but ultimately what the provincial government needs to do, a DA provincial government will work hand in glove with national government. We will lobby to unlock the opportunities that exist by reducing import tariffs on basic foodstuffs, by zero rating a number of goods that affect the poorest people the most. We're going to be unlocking property ownership by giving people the title deeds that they deserve in order to unlock the capital in our economy, which is just lying there waiting to be untapped. So we're very clear about what our program is. We want to make sure we fix our small towns, we get our communities back on the front foot, and that instead of living from hand to mouth, they can live in dignity and ultimately not worry about future generations growing up in poverty in this province.
There you have it. You know what the DA's deal is. You know what we are offering you. And therefore, please make sure that you are registered to vote. Go to check.da.org.za to make sure you're registered or to get help on how to register online. there we have it. The DA protest has made it to our final destination, where we will be giving over a memorandum to social development outlining exactly what needs to happen in order for people to get their social grants. The fact that people in this country has to suffer just to get their social grants is unacceptable. It is only the DA that has a plan to make sure that South Africa is rescued from a government that does not care, that does not want to assist, and that only cares about themselves. We are here as the DA and we are saying enough is enough. We are tired of the empty promises. We are tired of living in a country where we don't know what we are going to eat today. We are tired of living in a country that we are not safe to walk the streets. We are tired of living in a dark country that doesn't have electricity or doesn't have water. We are tired of living like second-class citizens. South Africa is one of the best countries in the world. And it is up to us as the South African public and as the South African people to come together, to unite and to rally behind the Democratic Alliance, the only party, and let me say it again, the only party that can rescue South Africa from our current crisis. As you can see, we are here. And like I said, this is not only a DA march. As you can see by the visuals, this march has been attended.
A 38-year-old woman from Butterworth in the Eastern Cape has allegedly killed her 3 children before taking her own life. Now, according to police, the motive for the deaths are unknown at this stage, but there is speculation that she may have been driven by her socio-economic conditions.
It's reported that the motive could have been poverty.
The link, according to the community, is poverty and hunger. What a tragedy.
Family members said the woman was deeply in debt and the family had been starving for weeks.
However, the increasing cost of living continues unabated.
Current pressure created by the rising inflation is taking a toll on consumers, with poor households taking the most strain.
The basic expenses like food and fuel, among others, are rising far faster than people's incomes.
To say it's tough times for everybody is like an understatement. I mean, it's really a battle out there for survival.
A large segment of our population is feeling incredibly stressed out about their finances, right? People aren't able to make ends meet.
There are many families who are crippling under poverty, under unemployment. It leaves these families physically and mentally drained and pushes a mother to the point where she eventually takes the life of herself and her children.
Let's give them a round of applause. But my special welcome, I know you love them, but my special welcome today is to our delegate of Parliament. Umamu Princess Masangu is the Minister, the Shadow Minister of Social Development in the National Assembly. Umamu Princess, I know I'm not going no, this is my time. Umamu Princess is fighting. She's on the forefront to address the issues of SASSA. You would understand that the ANC is failing to pay our SASSA beneficiaries on time. But Mamu Preachers is keeping them on the toes. Viva Mamu Preachers, viva! Viva! Mamu Preachers has a lot of hats in the DA. You would find that she will be, in some provinces, be the assistant presiding officers when we have our congresses. And I'm so happy to have her in our midst today. We are privileged actually to have her in our midst. You are more than welcome today, Mamu Pichet. And let us go to the powerhouse of beautiful Chief Whip. She's the Chief Whip of the official opposition in Parliament. Come on, Chief Whip, come on! Hi man, you can do better than this. Viva Chief Whip, viva! You know, this lady is not scared. I admire her, she's so bold. I recognize, I think it was in the multi-party conference, she was leading there. She was the voice for so many women in South Africa. And you want to thank God for being connected to that beautiful soul. And you must keep on fighting for the poorest of the poor poorest in South Africa. Welcome, powerful women. So what we're going to do you want to clap hands again? You can do so. Thank you so much. But immediately, I don't see quibbles. Our first speaker on the list today, it's our MEC, our shadow MEC, which is Kobus Botha in the Provincial Legislature. Viva Kobus Botha, viva!
Thank you, Georgina. Program Director, we are here today because our hearts are broken and we are cross. Abantu apa yonke nebantu zasikumbile namhlanje. We are here today because we want to show the ANC government that the DA will not stand by and accept that families are wiped out by hunger and corruption and maladministration. We need social services to be delivered. We are here today because we believe that effective social services could have prevented the death of 14-year-old Unati, 6-year-old Orabile, 5-year-old Oratile Buso of Tolaini village here in Butterworth. We are here for and with the people of Butterworth town and the Eastern Cape province that had to wake up to despair and death of this young family on the 6th of April. Their lives taken by their mother, Bongeka, due to the high cost of living expenses. We are also here today because we want to express our anger at the Eastern Cape ANC government that has cut the social development budget allocation for food parcels from 6 million rand to 5 million rand for the financial year 2023-2024. The million rand cut in food parcel provision budget could have assisted 1,200 poor, vulnerable and destitute families across our province at a basic cost for a food hamper of 850 rand. More shocking is the fact that the ANC government only distributed 376 food parcels across the entire province for this financial year so far. The MEC for Social Development, Bukiwe Fanta, in Bishu Parliament, told me that only 30 food parcels were handed out for the entire Amatola district region. That includes Nguma local municipality, of which Butterworth town is part of. This means that if you equally divide these 30 food parcels, it means that only 5 people have received food parcels in every local municipality. What a shocking state of affair, and the ANC calls themselves a caring government. We are also aware of the DA that there is close to 3 million people in the Eastern Cape that's dependent on SASSA grants. We are also aware that 63% of households received grants as the only income compared to 46% that receive some sort of income from other sources. For the financial year 2023-24, the Eastern Cape ANC government has only funded 26 food gardens. Do you listen? 26 food gardens was funded because they cut it with R1 million. This is totally unacceptable, and how can we ensure that we have food security in our province? The ANC government must stop stealing from the people, impoverishing them, and assist the people where they can to come out of poverty. The DA will not stand and tolerate the corruption and the stealing of people's grants and subsidies. In fact, the DA is the only party that will ensure that the poorest and poor receive social services to pull them out of poverty and to ensure that they have opportunities. It is only the DA-led government that will ensure that the poor receive assistance when needed. Viva DA, viva! Viva DA, viva! I now would like to call on our National Social Development Spokeslady, and that is Bridget Masambu. Bridget, please come forward.
Thank you so much, Kobus, for that information that you have provided us this morning. And thank you to the leadership, my leadership of the DA in the Eastern Cape for this opportunity. Democrats and the people of Eastern Cape, one of the reasons we are here today, as has been said, is that the food prices continue to go up. Okay. Also, we are here because, as Kobus has said, ngingomunye wamalungu eParliamente akwi-committee lokuthuthukiswa komphakathi. I-ANC government ayiwuthuthukisa umphakathi ngoba uma bekunjalo kuza kanjani ukuthi amaxabiso okudla akhuphuke ngalendlela akhuphuka ngayo abantu bengasebenzi. In South Africa today, 41% of the people of households in South Africa cannot afford to put food on the table. Yes. That is a reality, that is a fact. This is where no less than 42% of economically active people in South Africa do not have jobs. Some of them have given up looking for jobs. How can then do we have a committee and a department that is supposed to ukuthuthukisa umphakathi wase South Africa? We as the Democratic Alliance have made sure that budget speech after budget speech and State of the Nation after State of the Nation, we say to government, people are hungry in South Africa. People are unemployed. And we have brought solutions that are implementable, solutions that are credible, solutions that have been researched to say it can be, it doesn't need to be what it is at the moment. We can stop this by making sure ukuthi intela kapetrol iyehla. Ngoba abantu abafuna umsebenzi basebenzisa imali ukuthola i-transport eya ezikhungweni lapho bengathola khona umsebenzi. Sithi kunokudla okungafakwa iVAT, sithi akwenele lokho kudla. Yes. Khuphula i-list of the food items that most people, especially those that cannot afford to put food on their table, can afford. And among those food items, we are counting the likes of uflour, amafuta, ukudla kwezingane, baby food. We are saying the children are hungry in South Africa. We are told by research, recent research, that 27% of all children in South Africa are stunted. That means that those children their development stopped at a very crucial level, and those children, they have now a lifetime. They cannot do anything in the economy. They are going to be depending on the state for the rest of their lives, and that 27% is a lot of children in South Africa. So we are saying to government, and we have been saying this all the time, we have been calling in Parliament, in media statements, in marches, in pickets, in every other parliamentary oversight mechanism for government to consider our solutions. Yes. So we are saying today, people of Butterworth and people of the Eastern Cape and the country at large, the 2024 elections are coming. The Democratic Alliance has a social development policy that will ensure that no household goes without food. The development, social development policy of the Democratic Alliance is saying that we will make sure that the child grant, the child support grant, is extended to the mothers who are pregnant, to avoid a situation where a child is born to hunger, a child is born to a situation where they cannot have food. so that we don't have the stunting that we have, so that we don't have the high levels of child abandonment that is happening in South Africa at the moment. So as the Democratic Alliance, especially the Portfolio Committee on Social Development, we are ready to govern South Africa. Yes. But more than that, we are ready to ensure that the social development side of this department is effective. It is working for the people, not for the politicians. And so we are saying, when you decide, because you will decide, each one of you, when you decide to vote for a government that is going to govern you next year, make sure that you vote for a government that is based on equal opportunity for all people, on fairness, on diversity, and on ensuring that nobody goes to bed hungry. Thank you so much.
I've told you that Mama Pritchett knows the story. I'm going to call now on the chief whip of the official opposition in Parliament, Usiviwe. Can you come to the front, lady? Let's give her a round of applause. We are child. Obizani fire.
Viva DA, viva! Viva DA, viva! Molweni bantu basephondweni, molweni! Yavuya ukunibona abantu basekhaya man, yonwaba xa ndingapha ekhayeni, molweni! Bantu basekhaya silapha namhlanje umyalezo wethu umnye kuphela. And that is ANC iyasibulala. ANC iyasibulala ngoba abantu bethu abananto yokutya on a daily basis. Lento yenzeke kumama wasetholeni bantu base Eastern Cape should have never happened. What happened to la mama nabantwana bakhe would have been prevented if besinohulumende okhathalayo. Lo hulumende was promised wathi into yobana they will deliver a better life for all. Instead, they delivered a broken South Africa for all. Ngoku sibona into yokubana ukutya oku sikuthengayo ngemini nemihla nezolo we are unaffordable. Ukutya kwabantwana sikwazi ukuthenga. Ukutya cooking oil asikwazi ukuyithenga. Umilimili awusikwazi ukuthenga. Ukhona umama wakwaBhaca apho wayengixelela into yobana inoba wayigqibela 2 years ago utya inyama. Ngoba abantu bethu abasakwazi nokukwazi ukutya okwenyama lena. Abantu abasakwazi nokukhwela itaxi bayothatha igrant yabo. Umama Bridget is telling you about the SASSA crisis, which is a government-created crisis. This is a crisis that has been created by government because abantu bayafika ezindaweni nako-Post Bank bangafumani imali yesibonelelo sabo. Singumbutho we-Democratic Alliance kudala sinkqonkqoza kurhulumente sisithi nyusani imali ye-child grant. Sisithi into yobana asifuni a generation of children who are trapped in poverty, abangakwazi ufunda, abangenanto kutya, abantwana bazawufana ingathi zange sanayo inkululeko 30 years ago. Kudala sisithi kurhulumente into yobana enzelani isibonelelo kubantu abangakwazi abangathethi intweni. Sifuna ukuyazi into yobana ukutya kwabantwana is affordable. Sifuna ukuyazi into yobana iflour is affordable. We want to know into yobana abantu bayakwazi ukukhwela itaxi baya apho bafuneke beye khona bayokhangela imisebenzi. My Democrats, into endiyaziyo about South Africans is this.
South Africans are not content with 350. Abantu baseMzantsi Afrika do not want i-350. Bafuna imisebenzi. Bafuna ukwazi ukubana bazisebenzele so that they can provide for their families. Urhulumente wohlulwa naleyo incinci yokuthi makabonelele abantu. Yiyo loo nto ke njengobana the budget season in Parliament is starting in November, sizawuthi kurhulumente into yobana sifuna ubona into yobana imalini na ibudget yabantu efuneka iye ebantwini for izibonelelo zabo. Ngoba niyamazi urhulumente wenu njani? Wawuthatha i-8 billion bona bazenzele i-VIP protection, bona bahambe nge-BMW, bona basuse endleleni besithi thuthulani, kodwa baphinde ikwe ngabo abazothi bazofuna ivoti kuthi, iphinde bengabo abazothi masivotele lo khongolose. Ngo-2024 sithi sithi ANC kwanele, ANC kwanele. Ngo-2024 sifuna urhulumente ozisa imisebenzi. Ngo-2024 sifuna urhulumente ozazisela ukutya ebantwini. Ngo-2024 sifuna urhulumente okhathalayo. We want a government that will run a clean government. We want a government that will prioritize jobs. We want a government that will increase the child grant. We want a government that will extend the basket of services that is extended to poor people. We want a government that will prioritize the 82% of children abantwana bethu abangakwazi ukufunda at all ezikolweni kodwa basahlala kwi-mud schools. So ndiyanicela ke ma-Democrats, xa ndizawusuka ndinicela ngelithi into yobana kushiyeke nje i-7 months, kushiyeke nje i-7 months. I-contract yethu bantu base-Butterworth ne-ANC yi-7 months kuphela. After 7 months iyaphela i-contract yethu. Siyafika phana kwi-voting station singo-CEO sithi sizogxotha i-ANC, sithi phumani masela phumani. Sizawufika nge-voting day sisithi phumani masela phumani. Sifuna imali yethu ize ebantwini, ingabi ngohlohle sabo. Asifuna osisi bethu balale no-councillor for imisebenzi. Asifuna osisi bethu funeka bathengise ngemizimba just to put food on the table. And that is why ngo-2024 siyomgxotha u-ANC sithi phumani masela phumani. Phumani Eastern Cape phumani. Phumani Mzantsi Afrika phumani. Viva DA, viva! Viva DA, viva!
Mabambo masela mabambe. Mabambo masela mabambe. Yeah, let's give CDO a round of applause, guys. Thank you so much, CDO. Now we're going to call on Provincial Leader, Mr. Andrew Whitfield. Over to you, sir. Amandla!
Molweni, molweni, molweni. Ninjani namhlanje? Hayi silambile. Sithikiwe. Abahlali siyafa. That is the reality of poor South Africans living in poor communities. People of the Eastern Cape are hungry 30 years into democracy. 30 years. We have a government that wants to keep the people of South Africa dependent on them instead of dependent on themselves. That's what we want. We want people to be empowered to take care of themselves and not to depend on government. But government has a responsibility to intervene. We have to build a ladder. You know what a ladder is? Yeah. This ladder is an opportunity ladder. An opportunity ladder out of poverty and into prosperity where all South Africans can share in the riches of our country. There is not one single rung on the ladder in this province. There is no opportunity ladder. It's a game of snakes and ladders. The snakes are in Bishu and the ladders are greased with oil. When you try to climb the ladder, you slip down and the snake, it gets you. And that's the reality. Where's Dumbuli Khamba? Bobby Stevenson. Dumbuli Khamba should be here today. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today
And I think it's fitting that we see around us here a spaza shop. Yeah, right here. This is what people depend on to survive. Not to thrive, not to realize their full opportunity, to survive on a daily basis. The cost of food prices is getting out of control. We cannot continue to accept a government that doesn't care about the people. And I want to tell you, this morning at 5 o'clock, I was watching the news. The Premier of the Eastern Cape said, no, the DA is politicizing this issue. No, everything is fine in the Eastern Cape. We're paying our people grants. All children go to school and they get a meal at school. Either somebody is lying to the Premier and the Premier is lying to us, or he's just lying in jail. Children go to school, they don't eat. Grants are paid late. Grants are not paid enough. And there are no jobs. Things are not fine. If the Premier thinks this is fine, then the Premier should resign. It is unacceptable that a Premier of a province can take that attitude to an issue like this. This is not about politics, this is about people, about Lali. This is about the poorest people and the fact that even the people in the middle class are becoming poorer. That people in the middle class are joining the ranks of the poorest people in our country because they can no longer afford to pay their bonds, they can no longer afford to feed their families, and at the end of the day, people face starvation and death. I'm proud of the DA in the Eastern Cape, and I'm proud of the DA at a national level, fighting for the issues that matter to people in our country. We are unapologetic about fighting for this issue, and if it wasn't for the DA, nobody else would be talking about it. It is only the DA that is talking about the rising cost of living, and we're not just talking about it, we're presenting interventions, solutions. So, the Premier can keep making excuses, or he can come to the table. He can acknowledge that there are proactive and constructive solutions which my colleague Butterworth is going to table in the provincial legislature. He can acknowledge that we can partner to fix the cost of living crisis, or he can continue to politicize this issue. We are going to be putting forward those solutions to the Premier and to his team to make sure that he understands that we want to be part of the solution, not part of his problem. I want to tell you in conclusion that nothing pains me more as a parent to hear stories of young children starving to death. During lockdown in Mushwa, Pedi, young children were boiling twigs and leaves in order to survive. And I'm telling you, that's not just lockdown, that's every single day in the Eastern Cape, where we've got the highest unemployment rate and the highest rates of poverty in the country. So the DA will continue to fight this fight for the poorest South Africans. We will continue to fight the cost of living, the increasing fuel price, and the increasing cost of food, because this is the issue that matters to all South Africans the most, especially the poorest. And I want to thank every single one of you for being here today and for joining us, because without you, we cannot fight this fight alone. We need you to join hands with us and all South Africans to join hands as we take this fight not just to Pishu but to Parliament and ultimately to the union buildings, when the DA will govern this country and we will be able to implement our interventions and our solutions to bring about a better future for all South Africans under a DA government. Viva DA, viva!
Viva DA, viva! Viva! I've been told that the Deputy Director for Social Development here in this district is too scared to come and collect the memorandum. And he has decided to stay. His superiors have told him he must stay there in his air-conditioned office, there with his tea and his coffee and his food and his platters, and while our people are suffering. And what it tells us is they are so out of touch with what is going on. How can you have so little shame that when the people are saying we have got solutions, we want to hand over our demands, you are too scared to come and accept them? It means you are not there for the right reasons. And part of the problem that we have is that people are appointed based on who they are connected to, not based on the job that they can do for our people. So I want to assure you, we are not going to go there. He wants us to go there. We're not going to go there. Butterworth, who is our MPL in social development in the legislature, is going to take our memorandum to his bosses. Yes. Because clearly he does not care. And you know Kobus, the one with a better beard than me. We trust Kobus. Kobus is going to take this memorandum for us.
I want to thank every single one of you. You have braved the heat today. And you know, this is the start of a very big tsunami. It starts like a wave. You can see this is a blue wave. Even the water is blue today. So it's going to go bigger and bigger. It's going to be a tsunami to wash all of these ones, the fat cats, to wash them away. I really want to thank you. To our leadership that have come, you have shown us that this issue is close to your hearts, that you care. All we want is for people to care, because our people are suffering out there. Thank you very much for coming out. We have one objective going from here. We need to get our people to register to vote out this government that is making our people suffer. We've got one objective. It is up to us now. If we are going to make this blue wave a tsunami, it is up to us now. We can do it. We can bring a new government. Amandla! Awe, do! Thank you very much. Kobes, can you please come up? And if you can just inform our people what you are going to do with this memorandum.
Thank you, Yusuf. Yes, I've received the memorandum now, and it's very disappointing that the Deputy Director of this district is not here to receive this memorandum and these petitions, Yusuf. It just shows us that this government and the officials don't really care about the people. So I'll be taking this memorandum and petitions, and I'll be delivering it in Bishu Parliament to the Premier, all the MECs and MPLs that is there. This is where it's going. Our voices and the voices of people that are daily starving and dying of hunger because the cost of living is too high will be heard in the People's Parliament and Bishu. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amandla! Nawethu! Amandla! Nawethu! Now I'm going to call on Tatu Mlindi that's going to make a few announcements. Over to you, sir.
Amandla! Amandla! Ulilishwa indaba loRhulumente akakhathali ngabantu aba babonyulayo kufuneka sibayele eziofisini endaweni yobabona beze kuthi kodwa ndiyakuqinisekisa njengoba ivoti isondele nje bazawungena bephuma kwezilali zethu besiza ukuba bazocenga ivoti senibulelo torho abantu bakuthi okwamde ukwenza izaziso xa sisuka apha abakwazi ukukhwela into ezikholayo bawukhwela siya phaya eofisini ye-DA apho sizawuphasana kakhona okanye sichithakale khona sifumane ke namanzi ashushu kukangako enkosi kakhulu ngobukho benu. Thank you. Ngabe sidwathana lacho
What a powerful day it has been. I am always so inspired by the resilience of the people of South Africa. What makes the ANC intimidated and other divisive political parties is that when we come together as South Africans, we are powerful and we have the opportunity to not only change this government but to rescue South Africa. There are 14 million people in this country that are eligible to vote but are not registered. Are you one of them? You better make sure that you go out there and register so that you can vote in 2024. Please make sure you go to check.da.org.za to ensure that we make sure that every single South African has access to dignity, has access to jobs, has access and can afford food, can afford the petrol prices, and can afford to live in a life that is dignified. This is Nazli Sharif. I'm your girl, signing out live here in Butterworth. Shop and away. DA, DA, DA.
In this election, only the registered have the power. If you're tired of load shedding, register to vote. If you're tired of corruption, register to vote. If you're tired of the rising cost of living, register to vote. And if you're tired of a government that's continuously working against you, register to vote. Go to check.da.org.za and let's give power to the registered.
Thanks for watching. All across our beautiful country, people are joining forces to elect the new government that can rescue South Africa, help our rescue mission, and register to vote. Get help registering online now at check.da.org.za. Let's